Charlie Dimmock,
Boys!
the Rich Brothers, and the Garden Rescue Team have a treat in store.
Too much entertainment.
They have come to the rescue of hundreds of British gardens. Now it's time to look back and pick their favourites.
This looks really cool.
Fabulous.
As they celebrate the very best.
I don't like it. I love it.
From extraordinary eco gardens
Thank you so much.
to exotic designs.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Gardens inspired by people
Is this the garden that you dreamed of?
It is.
Absolutely.
I think that's a thumbs up.
and places.
It's the most beautiful garden I've ever been in.
Therapeutic spaces.
Wow.
And the most extraordinary transformations.
It is perfect. Welcome to Garden Rescue.
Top of the plots. What gardens are we looking at today then, boys?
So we're going to be taking a look back at some of the gardens that did their bit for the planet. Some of our favourite eco-friendly gardens.
And we've done our fair share of them over the years. If we're upcycling materials, we're using plants or, you know, putting a water feature into the garden just to help the wildlife.
Do you remember Sue in Andover and she wanted a hedgehog-friendly garden for her rescued hedgehogs?
I remember it well.
All our garden rescues have been amazing, but our first eco-friendly garden was for Sue. The priority was ensuring that the local hedgehogs would feel at home in her garden, certainty of shelter.
So I have
Charlie's design included a raised board
basically given you a
to provide the animals with plenty.
walkway, and this is our tunnel, which will allow your hedgehogs to come up through here and into this colourful planting and be able to get a drink from the pond down there.
The team wastes no time getting to work on the boardwalk, and it's for such a good cause, because the UK hedgehog population has decreased by up to 50% in the last 20 years. So Charlie's design also features a hedgehog hotel, which David gets straight to work on.
But there's actually a few fundamental things you need to think about when creating a hedgehog home. And one of them is size. So you don't want a box that's too small. So minimum, you want about 30 centimetres by 40 centimetres. And then height as well, you probably want about 30 centimetres as well. So that's why we're going to use legs to raise this one up. And all we're going to do is just going to screw it in. Perfect. So now we've got the legs on there. That now is a hedgehog.
Harry's also making great
Hotel at the right height.
progress with the decking.
Charlie's gone with Blau hardwood decking, and that's more durable and therefore requires less maintenance for Stu. On the top, it's regimented, it's clean, usable, but then on the bottom, underneath, it's left a bit more wild, so you've got long grass and sticks, so the hedgehogs can scurry in and have somewhere safe to relax.
Out at the front, David's Hedgehog Hotel is looking very neat and tidy.
So I've finished cutting the entranceway to the Hedgehog Hotel, and that's just a simple archway like that. And now the next really important element is to have a tunnel entrance. There's a few reasons for that. This tunnel entrance is going to be slightly raised from the ground. What that's going to do is going to prevent wind and prevent too much water from getting into the house itself. But also, most importantly, it's going to help prevent any larger predators from getting in and eating the hedgehog. And then for the tunnel, I'm going to use this brushwood fencing. It's going to arch over like that, and then the hedgehog going to run underneath. And not only is it really functional for this, it's actually going to look quite good and fit in the natural scheme of the garden. Perfect.
Harry's made good progress with the boardwalk, and it's time to put the viewing platform in the form of a metal grille over Charlie's Hedgehog Highway.
Look at that. Beautiful.
And then what's so nice, I think, when Sue walks down, she can walk on top of here like this, and it allows her to kind of see the hedgehog's roots through, really, so
Nice.
getting on.
And for the finishing touch, David's Hedgehog hidey hole is ready to go in.
So this is our space here underneath the deck for the hedgehog home. What we're going to use is one of the old recycled slabs as the base. Nestle that in there. That onto it like that. And then you can put the tunnel in. I'm just going to put that over there, and that's going to help stop the water from sitting on there, or if it does, stop the wood from rotting. Those leaves, and that's going to double up. That's nice. I've got some of this extra brushwood. I'm going to put that bit of insulation. Perfect. Now I'm just going to put that either side, along with some more of the decking boards back on. It's all done.
And with the boardwalk finished and David's hotel providing safe shelter for Andover's hedgehog community, the garden is finished. Sue's garden just wasn't fit for purpose. But now it's been transformed into this eco-friendly hedgehog haven. Time to see what she thinks.
Open your eyes now. Wow, look at that.
Oh, it's great.
So we've got our little grid walkway here, so the hedgehogs can come scurrying up through all this and underneath and into that shrubbery, and then they can go and get a drink in the pond. So you'll get grass growing up, which they will love because they'll feel quite safe.
Yeah.
They can go, and you will know because you'll see little tracks whether they've been backwards and forwards.
That's really great, isn't it?
Sue was thrilled with that garden, and hopefully the hedgehogs are using their highway to the pond unimpeded by human beings. Now, it's really easy to encourage wildlife into the garden. The most straightforward, simple thing to do, make a bird bath, and this one is dead easy. Terracotta pot for the base, a waterproof shallow dish to go on top, and fill it with water. You want to position it near to shrubs. If you put it right in the middle of a lawn, you'll find that the birds won't come to it because they're too frightened. Now, if your dish is quite deep, it's definitely worth putting in a few pebbles so they can get to the water easily. And you'll also find that butterflies and insects will come and drink from it quite regularly. That way there's no... And the other thing to remember is make chance of disease. Make sure you clean it out. Next eco garden was one in Manchester for Kim and Dorothy. And the boys made some quite cool things for our feathered friends.
Our next Top of the Plots eco-transformation saw Dorothy ask for a bird-friendly garden.
Dorothy, this is a nice snug spot, isn't it? Got a great view of the garden from here.
Yeah.
Do you sit out here lots?
Yeah.
And what do you like watching?
Birds.
You're a bit of a twitcher, are you?
I certainly am.
So Charlie's design focused on creating bird perches, boxes and feeding areas. And the first job for the brothers is to make an unusual climbing frame for the plants and birds, of course.
So what we're doing is we're making something that has a multifunctional use. So it's going to be a little framework for climbers to climb up. But then most importantly, some of the birds can sit, and obviously Doc can watch them.
And we've got this vertical post cut to the form of a leaf shape at the middle, and then we've got these horizontal, so it creates that lovely bit of structure, laths. And those laths have been...
And just to attach it, what we're doing is we're putting in 2 screws per lath, and that's just so you don't get a pivot point and it doesn't twist around.
This has cost probably about £5 to make, but I think dotted throughout the garden is going to really make a nice little feature.
Stand her up.
Right, one down, a few more to go.
Charlie's also building something for our feathered friends to enjoy.
I'm making a very simple bird box, just using 1 plank of timber, but make sure that you go for timber that hasn't been treated because the treatment's not good for the birds. So I've got these old seed trays here. So we're going to put the nesting box here and then plant up the front so they've got their own front garden, which would be cute.
Following a simple design she found on the internet, Charlie has measured her plank of wood into 6 pieces to make the 4 sides of
Then you've got your side,
the box, the top and the bottom.
sides like that. That's the back. space so you get the general gist of what's going on. Oh, I haven't got enough hands here.
Do you want a hand, Charlie?
Oh, no, it might be dangerous, though. That's the only thing.
That's my middle name.
What?
Harry Dangerous.
Got to be careful not to split the wood.
Do you make many bird boxes, Charlie?
No, does it show? I need to put the hole in. Depending on how big a hole you put in the front of the box, you'll get different birds. We're going to put one in that's 25 millimetres, so that's going to be for all the smaller birds, things like blue tits and marsh tits, that type of thing. You want to make sure that the bottom of the hole is about 100 millimetres up. Put their paw in and get that way, you know, if the baby bird's out and a cat came along, they won't be able to sort of, that's going to be the bottom of the hole. Oh, that's that. Right, so that's the hole in there. And then the roof's going to go on like so. So it overhangs, so it keeps the front of the bird box dry. And then it's a case of attaching the roof. So I'm just using some of this rubber, put a strip of that and some clouts.
After attaching the roof, the basic box is complete.
Then we just have a little flip up the lid, keeps the rain out. Pop it in, a little seed tray like that, and plant up this area here. Quite fun, isn't it?
Before long, the brothers' bird perches are ready.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, well, I think two up this big one in front of that hydrangea, top, just up there in that corner. And I don't want them like flat.
Nice, yeah.
So let's put that on and want them angled on, so like that.
Yeah.
And then back a bit. Okay, and the other little one then.
Little one small. Nailed it.
Just about there then.
Nice.
Huh?
Yeah. Perfect.
Cool.
These two here.
All that remains is to knock the perches into place, carefully protecting the brothers' masterpieces with an offcut.
Should have some little decorations on here, Christmas time as well.
Yeah, Christmas baubles.
Yeah.
And ding-dong merrily on high.
That's it.
The bird perches are finished at last. All that remains is for Charlie to position her one-plant bird box.
I reckon that one there. I do sort of feel like lording it over the birds from up here.
Alongside her bird box, Charlie positions a feeding to encourage our feathered friends tray, and she's made an insect home. And with that, her work is hotel, which will attract bugs to further done. Dorothy's garden was unused and unloved. But now it's been transformed into a bird-friendly paradise. Time to show Dorothy.
That is, as my mum used to say, coming from Norfolk, it's beautiful. It's lovely. These little wooden trees are nice.
Do you think your birds will like this?
I think so.
Well, if I was a bird, I think I'd definitely be visiting that garden after
Oh,
we left.
absolutely, yeah.
It's amazing what you can create from a couple of old pallets. Here they've created a beautiful composting emporium. I think it's great because you're recycling. You've got some kitchen waste there, you've got some of your materials back into the garden. Straw, and you've got some leaf litter. You're using your grass cuttings at the back there. But really, it's a bit like a recipe. You've got to get a little bit of green, a little bit of brown, and mix it all together. Really aerate it. So what better than to create your own homemade compost?
Now, these pallets here actually remind me of our ultimate recycling garden. Do you remember Yardley?
Oh, is it Tracy?
Yeah.
Her garden was full of her late husband's odds and ends from work as a builder, and that gave us lots of inspiration for the design.
It did, yeah. I'm pretty sure Charlie would describe that as a treasure trove of tat.
Oh, yes.
Tracy's late husband, Simon, had always had grand plans for the family's back garden.
He would always come home with a van full of leftovers, and it was his long-term plan to actually turn all his materials into what we wanted as a perfect garden. It's just like Steptoe's yard, I used to call it.
It'll be good. There's loads of materials just to see them used. Too many materials, really, but...
So what do you do with all this stuff? You send a garden rescue team in to reuse and recycle on a big scale. And Charlie's design includes a recycled brick pathway, a memorial seating area and a log store.
They've got a wood burner inside, and there's lots and lots of logs, as you can see.
Yes.
And a lot of it, the timber's stored in that log store there, which is not a thing of beauty.
Not particularly. Looks like it's about to fall over.
So, first job for you, a nice log store here.
Okay.
But you need to move.
Oh, are you sure now?
On you go, boys.
Oh, cheers.
Always on the lookout for recycling discarded material, landscaper Andy thinks of a creative use for the bricks.
Oh, Andy,
Hey,
just the man.
Skip?
Well, not if you don't want them to.
Well, I was just looking at these old engineering, well, new engineering bricks. We want to put some in the path.
Yeah.
What about some of those ones? What are they? It's like a plate. Air bricks.
These, they're all different. Let me power you.
That's it. Yeah.
Look at these.
Oh, it was a lot of work. You like that, Andy?
Andy wastes no time in getting the bricks into the path, creating a new feature to give texture and interest. With the brothers' corner of the garden now cleared, Simon's treasure trove has revealed another gem.
Charlie's found this beautiful crate. It's very solid and is going to make a great base for our log store.
What we want to do is make it into a triangle shape. So not only is that going to look good, having this lovely apex, but it's also going to be very practical, because obviously the water is just going to run straight off it.
We're going to cut the front off, and that's going to allow nice access into the log store, but we're going to retain the back and the sides for a nice bit of structure.
David cuts the wood to size, creating the A-frame of the log store, while Harry gets the front of the crate off.
And there we are, a ready-made log store, so quite excited to be a nice addition to the garden. It's now about putting the little apex on it.
Once the
Some feather boards and...
A-frames have been secured to the base, the brothers can start on the walls.
This is the feather board we're using to clad the log shed, and as you can see, it tapers at one end. And that's really handy because as you build it up and up, you want to make sure that these feather boards overlap. And that's why it's thinner at one side, so that it doesn't keep pushing out. So the key is to make sure that the top one overlaps the bottom one, therefore you've got no gaps for rainwater to seep in.
Finished putting the featherboard at both sides, but obviously when we get to the top, it leaves a gap. And we don't want any of the water to seep in and obviously get the logs damp. So what we've done is we've cut a section of this drain pipe out, and we're just going to put it over the top, like that, bend it a little bit, screw it in or fix it in, and therefore the water's going to hit that, run off down the sides and the logs. There we are, so that's nice and dry. That's the log store complete, and we put a shelf here so that we can have the kindling on the bottom, and then we can pile up the logs here on the top.
Charlie's also made a discovery in amongst the junk, and it's got her creative juices flowing.
God, there are amazing things around here. A wood burner, but I thought I'd make it as a pedestal for a table, using that piece of slate. And then I might pop this up with some plants. What do you think? Lee? So look at this piece of slate. It's gorgeous.
Oh, I imagine you want me to do something with this.
Yeah, table. So I'm thinking, we've got that wood burner. Once that's levelled up, that'll make a really nice table. And we're looking that way, and the bench seat coming off this way, yeah?
What we're using for the bench seat?
Well, that's the thing, you see. See, leave that balance there. Out the... How much stuff? I've found this lovely wood. Look at these lovely old I just cannot believe logs. Are they? Sounds all right, and it's heavy. I mean, it's quite.
Oh yeah, it's just nice and dried out. So there's a few years left in there.
Yeah.
While Lee gets back to work making Charlie's table and bench, David starts stacking logs in the new store.
That looks lovely.
Yeah. Somewhere about there then.
About there, and then the table coming off there just so she can put her cup of tea on it.
The recycled bench and table are forming part of a memorial corner for Simon, rounded off with some floral planting.
It's looking lovely under here. It's a gorgeous little woodland space to sit. It's very tranquil as well. Oh, they're going to love it.
Tracy's garden was tatty and full of building gear, and upcycled into this magnificent space. Oh, but now it's being transformed. But will Tracy fall for its charms?
I'm scared. You scared?
I'm scared. Oh my God, this is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. I can't believe it. It's the same garden. Amazing.
Do you like what the boys have done?
Yeah, that's great. I love it. I love it. I love everything.
Lots of bits and bobs that we've used.
Thank you. That's perfect. Wow.
I know what builders are like. They're very particular. Do you think, Simon, I think we finished it off reasonably well?
Yes,
Yeah,
he would.
definitely.
Yeah, he would approve. He'd approve to everything. He would have loved it.
Yardley did have loads of treasures, just gorgeous, isn't it? So that could be dotted round the garden. And look what I took up. And a little tip, if you found under the hedge here, got brand new things that you want to make them look a bit old and weathered, just sling them under the hedge for a couple of months and they'll weather up nicely. Now look at these gorgeous plants. I mean, everyone knows rosemary and lavender, gorgeous scent, and the bees love it. So if you want to get bees in the garden, these plants are ideal. Ox-eye daisy, a very happy looking plant, and it will self-seed and look quite wild and natural. Salvia, and then scabious, one of my favourite gorgeous flowers, and the bees go mad for it. And that's exactly what Robert and Gemma from Leamington Spa wanted. They wanted a family-friendly garden that the bees and the bugs would love, and Arit gave them exactly that.
Robert, Gemma and their daughter Darcy's garden was a little rough and ready, but it was their love of bees that inspired Arit's design that featured lots of hexagonal shapes.
Raised beds. So, but rather left this area at the top within doing them sort of in the standard up here to create some rectangular shape using the beehive as an inspiration. So that way you might choose one to have cut flowers, you might choose one to have vegetables.
As well as the beds, there's also a large hexagonal arch and bug hotel. But the first job is to position those raised beds.
Does it just need to come over a little tad, do you think?
Whatever you want, the whole tree.
Well, just the three, just to come over a little tad. I think it's just that comfort level of making sure that there's enough space to get around, walk around these.
Are you feeling a bit wider? I think as long as you've got a little bit of that.
Exactly.
Oh,
little bit what?
What's Your dodgy knee.
Finally happy with the veg beds, Arit can concentrate on her plan to attract plenty of bees and other wildlife to the top end of the garden.
This area of the garden is what I'm calling the wild meadow. It's going to be really easy to look after. What I've just done is mown a path for the family to still, so that they can still get an area to walk, be able to access the fruit trees because when they need fruit.
To ensure
to pick them, need to make sure that they feel comfortable.
That pollinators have nectar to feed on right the way through the year, she's adding to the planting here. She's popping in some cow parsley for its large flat flower heads, the perfect landing pad for lots of pollinators. Perennial wallflowers for their long flowering season, and good old-fashioned English bluebells.
You still obviously need to make sure that you're watering, even though we're in the natural area. These plants still need to get established. What I have done as well is just use the soil around the area. I'm not bringing in a new compost because I want these roots to get used to their new environment quickly. So that's why they're just going straight in.
Next, the team have to position the striking hexagonal arch, which is no easy task.
OK, let's go and see what this is going to look like up in the veg plot. I'm feeling that it needs some height and structure up there. Changed my mind. Designer prerogative. Okay, making way.
Your Arab.
Careful.
That's a big-looking veg bed.
Making way. I think it could be quite nice. Just where the boys are, really. Let's give it a whirl. The position's not quite right. Can I look and see it from the other end? It's not quite working.
I agree.
How much further does the garden go back? Keep coming, keep coming. Yeah, definitely better there.
Dig it in, peg it, done.
That's it. Fabulous. OK, onward.
With the garden nearly finished, Arid focuses her attention on daughter Darcy's bug hotel.
This is her little space that she can really play with, start to get used to seeing insects in the garden, and really just so that she can get a bit creative. So I'm going to start it off for her using some cones that I'm going to use, things like obviously dried leaves, and then obviously, as well as we know, bug leaves are really important. Got of different sizes like to get into in and out of holes. So we've got things like the bamboo here, and also as well, don't be worried about using little bits of wood and from around the garden because they'll decay off, and that's when you start to get things like wood lice can start to come in here as well. And then obviously in time, all those little bugs will start to go and run around into the garden as well. So, and that's exactly what we want. I'm going to start getting creative.
And with plenty of bee-friendly plants added, this wildlife haven is finished. What was a messy little used space has been transformed into a stunning bee-friendly garden for the family to enjoy. But what will Robert, Gemma and their daughter Darcy think?
Open your eyes.
Oh, wow!
God.
Oh, wow!
Really amazing.
Oh, wow! Oh, not to think that. Oh, my God.
That's absolutely.
Isn't it amazing where wildlife find their homes? Inside this old tree stump is a family of wild black bees. And around the stump is planted rambling roses, we've got honeysuckle, we've got these aquiledias here, providing the bees with a rich source of nectar, hopefully encouraging them to stay.
Ponds are another great haven for wildlife. Charlie, being queen bee of water features, we left her up to her own devices to create the water feature for Usha in Marlborough. Now, Usha is a wildlife photographer. She was desperate for a pond.
Our next top of the plot's eco-transformation was in Usha's plain-looking garden. It needed a bug overhaul, so the brothers' design focused around life.
Got a large wildlife
And a rather impressive eco-pond
for you.
Okay.
So that is, again,
guaranteed to bring the garden to life.
is a great way to encourage the wildlife there and great for the photography. And it's surrounded by a wildflower meadow.
Whilst the landscaping team get to work, Charlie is left to dig the pond.
When it comes to positioning a pond, it is really key to get it in the right place, whether it's a wildlife pond or an ornamental pond. A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to put it in the shade so that way it won't go green and slimy. That's the wrong thing to do. You really want to have at least 6 hours a day of full sun so that the plants grow and keep the pond clear. Now, as this is a wildlife pond, we've positioned it close to the hedge. That way, the wildlife have got a safe corridor to get into the pond and out of the pond.
A large, healthy pond can attract over 100 different species of wildlife, including dragonflies, beet water to flourish, frogs, newts and birds.
This being a wildlife pond,
birds too, and they don't need deep.
We don't need to go more than 60 centimetres deep. That's plenty for wildlife. Come and look at the pond. It's not as level as you think, this garden.
It's not.
I don't know how much, but you can see.
It looks good. That looks great. It's a great size as well, isn't it?
It's just a lot of faff getting the levels.
As Charlie gets the levels right, David helps put in a protective layer before the liner goes in.
Your sheet's this colour, David, then?
Yeah, just as a show of dirt.
Oh, yeah, that's what you'll all say.
The membrane goes in first to stop rocks or strong roots piercing the liner. If that happens, there's only one place for the water to go.
So, liner, take it like this.
David may be the boss, but Charlie's a bit of a pond expert, so he's happy for her to lead. For now.
Hope you've got clean socks on.
I've actually got holes in my socks.
Oh, but there's a reason for that. It may look like a...
Right, so...
a lot of liner for a medium-sized hole.
So then it's going to be a case of tidying,
Trying to fold it.
Fold it.
Put it round.
Now, you know, people go, oh, a liner, it looks terrible like that with the folds. But actually, for wildlife, it's ideal.
Yeah.
Because these make nice little nooks and crannies for frogs and insects.
As well as helping the wildlife, keeping the liner snug but not tight stops it tearing.
I've got the O's.
You got the O's? Right, then I'm getting
the O's on.
Yeah, but not while we're in it.
Surely now.
It's quite warm. Charlie, are you ready?
Yeah. On you go then. I reckon it's going to definitely take 2 hours, even more to fill.
Right.
But we don't want to cut the liner until it's full.
Wisdom.
Even grass can be wildlife friendly, and next to the pond, the Rich brothers are laying down some wildflower turf that has more
in Britain,
diversity than a flower bed.
Lately, all the native meadows have actually been decreasing, and that's due to things like agriculture and urban sprawl. So I think when you get a chance to bring back those native species and put them in your garden, you should definitely do it.
So how much of this meadow turf have you got going spare?
So we did have it so it kind of encompassed a bit of the pond.
Oh, okay.
So there should be enough to kind of, give it that really nice natural look.
So that'll be good because then I can lay the turf.
Yeah.
So it's just about touching and then it will suck up a little bit of water. And the great thing about that is if you'll get things like meadow smock, lady smock will self-seed in there and it'll just carry on the theme of the wildflowers.
Oh, it's hard.
When it comes to pond plants, there's 3 key groups. You've got oxygenators, which help keep the water fresh and non-stagnant. They don't need soil, they just need a bit of gravel. So they go right down to the deep bit, and it'll just be part of the hiding places for all the insects.
Oxygenators absorb excess nutrients in the water, keeping it clean and algae-free.
You also have plants that lay on the surface, which are things like water lilies, water hawthorn, pond fringe, and then you have the marginal plants, which stand in the shallow areas. When you buy your marginal plants, quite often they come with a label that says for 4 inches of water. What they mean is 4 inches from above the container top. So they go in quite deep. So these ones are going to go on the shelf. And they're ideal to let all the dragonfly nymphs crawl out. And
Charlie has created a
then break open and turn it
shelf below the surface for the margin
to beautiful dragonflies
to sit on. Water forget-me-nots and ornamental miniature bulrushes will help give a nice finish to the edge of the pond. As As a final touch, Charlie creates an insect-friendly stumpery using some old timber. And with that, the perfect wildlife pond is finished. Wildlife photographer Usha has been crying out for her drab, uninviting garden to be turned into the perfect habitat for insects, birds, and little creatures. But now it's been transformed into a lush eco-garden with its incredible pond. Will Usha fall for its watery charms?
Right, so.
1, 2, 3. Open your eyes.
Oh, my word. Wow. No, this is gorgeous. Thank you very much, guys.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Charlie,
Thank you. I'll come in for a hug as well.
You really are the princess of pond.
Oh.
That I am.
From creating something new to actually saving something that was very old.
Yeah.
Annette from Mansfield wanted this wildlife garden, but she also had a sentimental attachment to a very old rickety shed.
She did.
Yes, I have to say I'm glad that the team took a second glance at the design, because I think they walked in and went, yeah, gonna have that down, and oh no, perhaps not. Charlie's actually pimping that up and saving it. So thank goodness they looked again, and we did put a blinder off on that.
Oh yeah, should be proud of that.
Annette, I have to say this shed looks like if you blew on it, it'd fall over.
I love this shed for the simple fact that when I bought the property, I'd not seen inside it. So the first day that I moved in and got my keys, I went inside it and just cried because it was like walking. It was lovely. I mean, the old chap's tools into my granddad's workshop, and it was still there.
Oh, wow.
You know, just brought back so many memories. It was just lovely and really nice, and that smell, it brought all that back. So I don't particularly want to get rid of the shed. It does need a little bit of TLC.
With such a strong sentimental attachment to the shed, it was important that the team did everything they could to do the ultimate make and mend. And Charlie's winning design included giving the shed a Hansel and Gretel theme, but landscaper Andy wasn't convinced.
Charlie's got a bit of a Hansel and Gretel feeling going on with this shed, but in all honesty, it's turning into a bit of a Brothers Grimm for me, because she wants really gnarly timbers for all of the posts. These look very natural, very woodlandy.
But Andy's having problems getting his mitts on the right timber, so puts in a quick call to the boss.
Well, I'm hoping to use like some sort of hazel, coppice hazel pruning, like that.
Okay.
If you can't get any, then we can use sort of normal rough round prunings or something like that, just hold, and then we could maybe use to make it look rusticy.
Okay.
Willow or hedge.
Whilst Andy's going to have to shop around to give the new porch that homespun feel, the shed itself is already pulling off the rustic look a little too well.
It's not just a lick of paint, is it? But it's absolutely solid as a rock. It's completely not going anywhere. So it's going to need I reckon a few of these bits of featherboard replacing. I think we'll just repanel that whole bit down the bottom there. Good sand and a paint, and you know, obviously kind of bits and bobs of repair around it. But it might come up all right. It might come up all right.
And since the garden is all about make, do and mend, the old pavers from the path are used to extend the patio. Andy patches up the old shed as best he can, while Rosie gives it a fresh new colour. Charlie's design promised a porch cum pergola extension to the existing
If we have
shed, so the Rich brothers start by
the shed as it is.
Yep.
planning that out with Andy.
And then, because we're having these two different porch areas, that's a shallower pitch there.
That's it.
So in essence,
Perfect.
And there, and there.
And they're deciding where the uprights are going to go for our pergola or shed exoskeleton. And for the uprights, what we're using is some lovely tree trunks, so thin softwood conifer. And Andy sourced them from a local tree surgeon. And because we're using the whole trunk, it's going to give that lovely rustic appearance. But hopefully, we've got enough.
It's not to cut all the grades.
Mate, we're a team here.
Oh, there are.
Not anymore, by the looks
Will you
of it.
get one?
Oh, I need to poke it down with something, really, don't I? Well, I try to do by eye.
Do by eye, I think, would be the best.
Check if the shed's level. That's right, so if the trunk goes that way a little bit, then we're OK. Yeah, lovely.
With the uprights
Got some dandruff on there, Dave.
in position, they just need sawing
Probably should have washed your hair last
to the right height.
Right. A snow globe. Just turn me upside down and give me a shake.
Cooking on gas, you boys are, aren't you?
Good at rustic.
Yeah?
What do you think?
I think it looks great. I mean, I love the contrast between the horizontals of the shed and then the gnarled sort of bark of the conifer uprights.
It's definitely feeling kind of like a little cabin now, isn't it?
Yes.
Uprights all in place, and the next stage for David is the roof.
Or can we notch out a little bit, or notch a little bit out of these? So we're just working out how the roof is going to go on, really. And all we're going to have is this horizontal bit of timber here, and we're going to have a nice bit that goes on top. And then basically by using gravel boards, we're going to sling them all the way across, and then on top of them then, there's going to be some lovely timber shingles. Be a cabin before we know it. Definitely getting cabin fever anyway.
And the shed's new lease of life. Harry rigs up some lighting. Life is nearly there. To set a rustic canopy off a tree.
Now that the gravel boards are down, there's a good, strong foundation for the roof. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a waterproof membrane, which is obviously going to keep the roof nice and sealed for the people sitting underneath it. But then on top of that, I'm going to be putting these cedar shingles. Now, they're absolutely gorgeous. They're a beautiful material to use. Now, they smell beautiful. And obviously, as they age, they're going to grey and silver off, which is going to look gorgeous as well. But what's so nice about a material like this is it is sustainable.
And speaking of sustainability, David's found some odds and ends hiding in the shed that he wants to upcycle too.
Old number plates. Now, these ones off cars. Then this one here is definitely off the front fender of an old motorbike. It looks super cool. And this shed was one of the main reasons that Annette actually bought the house. So it's lovely to be able to involve some of the old kind of objects that are inside it, obviously from the previous owners. Use them in the garden and really extend the
Annette's garden
history and extend that story.
Wasn't in good shape, especially with its rickety old shed. But now it's had a complete makeover, with the shed taking centre stage. Time for its grand unveiling.
Open your eyes. Thank you. I'm hoping that's tears of enjoyment. Look at the shed. Can't call it a shed.
The colour is brilliant.
Yeah.
That looks amazing. Yeah, it's just absolutely perfect. For the family to get together on an evening, just to sit out, have a little drink, have a barbecue, get the fire going. Amazing, relaxing end to a day.
Wow, that shed meant so much to Annette.
Yeah, I'm just glad we were able to.
I think good for the planet, and I feel like
save it, also give it a new lease.
Gardening is a really good way of helping out the old girl, isn't it?
Life.
Yeah, make do and men.
Hold on. You're not talking about me there, sunshine.
Ah, Mother Nature.
I let you off this time.
Well, we hope you enjoyed a look back at some of our favourite eco-friendly gardens.
And see you next time for some more Top the Plots.